Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning. There I am. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the office and to the morning grind. It is great to have you here. It's been a real chill morning over here. I hope it's been a chill morning for you as well. So we got lots of people here today. James is here, channel members, Nathaniel and Zero the Blade. Thank you all three. Good to see you. BGD is also here, as well as Andrew. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, and Sable Phoenix just popped in. Good morning, everyone. So I thought that today we would do kind of like a potpourri day, because there are a few things floating around here that need to be addressed. So the first thing is that I got this in yesterday. I got in the new proof of Goodnight sword. And so I just quickly opened it up to notice that the obvious errors that I had in the previous proof were corrected, but I still want to take a look at it. So I thought, hey, we'll just take a look at it, this new proof here on the morning grind. I also have had these. I don't think that will take an entire hour because it's a children's book. So I also have these, the Pathfinder adventure cards, and I have been interested in cracking them open, but they've just been sitting over there on the to be looked at side of the office for a while now. So we've got those. And then also last night, I had a table talk with Bashir Gauss, and he has been writing for all kinds of people in the tabletop gaming industry. He's got credits with Paizo and Critical Role and Wizards of the Coast and Kobold Press, and he has just been doing a ton of stuff. And then also has his own RPG and setting on Kickstarter now, and that was Guns Blazing, and it's a diesel punk 1920s game. And it was a really good conversation last night. So if you did not see the conversation with Bashir, he's any winning. I didn't know that. I mean, he's only been in the industry since 2019, and he's already won an Emmy and is nominated for the Nebula Award, which is like the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Society or something like that. So he has been really rocking it. And so we were talking last night because because we were talking about both his world design and his rule system design, since he was doing both of those. And he did have a quick start for his rule system online. And so I downloaded the quick start, and we can take a look at that as well. Hey, Tomocrat. Good morning. So I don't think that any of those will take an entire hour. So I thought maybe today would be a good day to try to do all three of them. So let's go ahead and get started with some messages, and then we will break into those. So here we go. This month, there are several things going on Ravenkeep.net. First, War of Kings is the game of conquest, kingdom building, and strategy that my brother and I developed. It's Catan meets Risk, but there are only 5 boxes of War of Kings remaining, and the game won't be reprinted. Also, Enchantress, the game of wizardly combat, also designed by my brother and me, is on Ravenkeep.net, but there are just 6 copies of that game left, and it will also not be reprinted. So if you'd like either of these games for your table, please pick up one from the website now. If you've been enjoying what I'm doing here on the channel, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking that join button. Your support is so important, and this month, we have a special offer for all of the channel members. If you join, you'll get a $7.99 discount on all of the custom mugs from Ravenkeep.net, Cultist Coffee, Witch's Brew, or Fish Do Not Drink Tea. Once you've joined the channel, just check the members only post on the YouTube channel's community tab for the discount code. Remember, all orders from the website of $99 or more ship free, but I can only ship to the United States. And thank you for being here with me live on The Morning Grind. And if you're watching on replay, welcome to you as well. It's great to have you here. If you're enjoying The Morning Grind, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It will really help the channel grow, and I would be very thankful. We also have the Ravenkeep Discord server you can join if you would like to be a part of the community. All right, that's what you need to know. Let's get to the main topic. All right. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, let's do our sip. I got my drink right here. Might have to get more. I'm almost out. But let's take 2 deep breaths, complete exhales, and then take our sip right here. So let's do it. I got Mountain Dew Zero this morning. There we go. A moment of reflection each morning. All right, let's take a look at Goodnight Sword first. Let's do Goodnight Sword right here. Bring up auxiliary camera. Go auxiliary camera. All right. So, as you may know, what I have been doing is I've been trying to recalibrate a lot of the projects that I've been doing, moving the microphone over here, trying to recalibrate several different projects that I've been doing in order to take advantage of more digital and also print-on-demand offerings. So originally, I had this book set up to do offset printing, and so it was a little bit different size, but this is actually a very good size as far as I am concerned. So that was a problem because when Brianna laid this book out, and she, so it was designed for offset printing on a different size. And so then I've gone to trying to look at print on demand is what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about running just a Kickstarter for this book. Of course, you know, I've got some prototypes of the action figures. I've got prototypes of the stuffed animals, but each one of those requires a major commitment to inventory, you know, a minimum order and stuff like that. And it didn't seem like I had been able to generate enough energy last year in order to get those projects off the ground. So that's why I've been moving toward some of the more digital and print-on-demand products. So what I think might be a good idea in order to go ahead and get Tales of Rabavania underway, so we can get it underway and then also going to other worlds, is to start with just, let's do Goodnight Sword, this children's book, that is, and just do it digital and print-on-demand on Kickstarter. That's what I'm thinking right now. So I'll have to adjust what is... what's on Kickstarter, because I built out a really nice Kickstarter page for an action figure prototype, and then the stuffed animals, and then the Goodnight Sword as well. But we roll with what we got here. So I think we just start this first and try to get this underway. So it says, Goodnight Sword is a medieval-themed bedtime story set in a world of rabbits inspired by the beloved children's classic. In the great hall of the castle, tucked away in his little blanket, is Pate, a page of the hall. Good night, sword, good night, gourd, he says, as a fire flickers and the minstrel softly strums his lyre. To the guards, the dagger, the iron hauberk, the helm, and the squire who diligently polishes it, the knights, the old soldier, the fair maiden who granted him her favor, and every rabbit in the world, little Pate says good night. We got the Tales of Rabavania logo on here and the Ravenkeep logo. So this was illustrated by Adam M. Botsford. And so let's see here. I dedicated it to my niece and nephews. And so this is Elmhearth. This is one of our major locations in the Tales of Rabavania story. They've got their castle under this elm that's on this cliff here. And you see the lake down beneath. And this gives you, and of course, this is their Great Hall that is underneath the subterranean Great Hall. So you can see it's hanging off because you can see the sky over here. It's like kind of think that down here, like you can see down here. So I think this is the Great Hall, or I intended for this to be the Great Hall right here. So they're kind of halfway in, halfway out, overlooking this lake. Oh, should I issue a spoiler warning? Well... yes, I suppose I should. Spoiler warning just in case. Hey, Retro Nerd Girl. Welcome. Good to see you. So you can see the roots of the elm that are growing up into the Great Hall right here. So this passage over here would go deeper into the underground levels of this warren. This is the coat of arms of the Baron who runs the place. That's his wife's coat of arms. His wife is actually also a knight. And then you've got Sir Merrick and Sir Bors over here, and one of the squires. And so we kind of made this image right here as, intending. So after you've gone through the entire book, you can come back and see all the different things that we're saying goodnight to here. And as you can see, Pate is sleeping over here in the corner. Because I figured that, this is the common area. So after everybody's eaten and things like that, some of the rabbits, you can say, put out pallets and things like that on the floor. And so they probably sleep in here as well. So that page, and then we go over to Pate. Now, of course, you can see that I do have, I don't think we're gonna be ready yet, so we'll just have to do this in separate Kickstarters or whatever. But here is the prototype of the Pate plush toy, and I think that'd be really fun to have. So the prototype's made, but I don't think we're gonna have enough energy to put that into production right now. So I'm holding off on that. We'll just do the book first. So Pate is right here saying goodnight. So Goodnight Sword. And as you can see, the problem was last time, the problem with the first proof was that there was some kind of error with getting this like cloud shape in here that Brianna put in. It was blocking it out. So there was something that was wrong with the PDF. It wasn't like that in the PDF, but there was some kind of translation error or something that by the time the PDF was printed, it was an error. So Goodnight Swords, that's right. That's when I looked in, I was like, okay, the obvious error has been collected. I really like the realistic sword and also the bucklers that are down here. Goodnight Gourd. Goodnight Guards who keep us all safe. Goodnight Dagger. And the Iron Hauberk. Goodnight Cheese. We also introduced the mice. Goodnight cheese. Oh, I meant to say, so you can see this place is also, when we were looking at the Tales of Rabavania World Primer, we talked about the mice. There is an order of mice knights. And those mice, and they fly hawks. They all, in order to become a knight of this order, the mice have to take a hawk from its nest, and then break the hawk and train it. But it's very dangerous because a lot of the mice squires, that's a step that you have to do. A lot of them get eaten or get eaten later by their hawks. But that actually happens here at Elmhearth because they live in the tree up here in Elmhearth. So this order is here. And so that's why I've got this door right here that goes to the outside, so that there's like a perch or something out here so that the mice knights, when they need to arrive, they can fly right up here, perch their hawk outside, and then immediately enter the Great Hall, bringing news or whatever else from their flight abroad. So, but also introducing the mice over here. Goodnight, cheese. So let's see here. James says, I like it. It's homely. Or homey. Sable Phoenix says, how was the art made and who made it? Oh, well, it said it was illustrated by Adam M. Botsford. So Brianna laid the book out. I wrote it. Adam Botsford illustrated it, and then Brianna laid it out. So it's digital creations by Adam M. Botsford. So it says, James says, I bet they accidentally printed the whole frame rather than the contents. Empty space in a frame just prints as white. Could be. What I ended up doing was exporting high resolution PNGs because I had the original. I've got the original PSDs that Adam submitted. So I exported PNG files to make sure that the image was just the image, and then rebuilt a PDF. So that fixed that problem. Retro Nerd Girl says, the details are wonderful. They are. Adam did a wonderful job with this. So Goodnight, cheese. Goodnight, keys. Goodnight, elm. And goodnight, helm. Goodnight, squire. And goodnight, liar. Goodnight, shield. And goodnight to the lance, only the gallant wield. Goodnight, banner. Now, see, actually, here's something that I wish we had done. Now I wish we had actually put like a bar or something like that with a rope above them or something like that. I didn't really think about that at the time, but my youngest nephew, well, no, it's not my youngest nephew anymore. I have a new one. But one of my nephews was reading this, and my brother was reading it to him, and he was reading him the digital version. And he stopped and he said, those aren't banners. Those are more shields. So he interpreted them as more shields, which they could certainly be. So that's why I was like, we should have had like the bar and something hanging up above them. So goodnight, banner. And goodnight, jewel. Goodnight, gruel. Goodnight, knights. And goodnight to the old soldier who says time's been cruel. Goodnight, maiden fair, whose favor I bear. Goodnight, rabbits everywhere. And then we've got something about here, advertisement for this channel and the Rabavania YouTube channel. And then the about. So Adam Botsford says, Adam M. Botsford is a freelance illustrator and children's book author. He comes to illustration with a special education background and a master's degree in industrial design. His previous children's books, including The Dog Coffee Book and Horatio, are tales of friendship, family, and diversity. So there we go. So actually, I think that checks out. I think that checks out. I mean, I didn't see any. I guess I'll look at it one more time, but I think that checks out. So what I'm thinking is that I've got several friends of mine when I was thinking who would do smaller Kickstarters a bit more rapidly. From Rain Studios with my brother, and then Infinite Black. To me, Kickstarter traditionally just a gigantic effort. And I realize that running the Kickstarter at all is, effort, but talking about gigantic efforts that deal with hundreds of SKUs, international freight, international shipping, warehousing, hundreds of SKUs, it's too much. So that's why I'm simplifying. So I figured, hey, let's just start with something really simple. So, and then try to iterate those kinds of try to iterate products and Kickstarter launches a bit faster rather than, with fewer items that can get turned around more quickly than trying to go through, just gigantic stuff. And then when we have enough energy, well, then we can do things like the plush toys and the action figures. I've got to get information about the action figures back. I've had more information requested about the action figures. Those are a big deal. And the molding cost on those is also high. So we're gonna figure that out though, because I'm not stopping. This is what I'm doing. But I just got to figure out the most effective way to get all of these things that I want to get done. But I'm very happy I have this. So that way, because I wanted to know that it was right, so that if we do the Kickstarter, we'll have a digital edition. What I'm thinking is there'll be the digital edition, of course. So you can come in for the digital edition, or you can come in for one of the hardbacks, which we'll just print up. See, what I'm thinking about doing is not like just opening up these different books that I've got for print on demand at any time, just doing certain runs of them. So like Kickstarter, if you want a hardback copy for yourself, for a child, or to donate to a library or something like that, the time to be in on that will be the Kickstarter. Because, I am thinking that this should be something that's popular, because, there are lovers of fantasy out there. I mean, the reason that I did this is because you want to share medieval theme, fantasy theme with children, whether that's a niece, nephew, cousin. Sometimes we have younger cousins around here. So it could be younger cousin, or friend or something like that you want to kind of inspire with the medieval and fantasy themes. So Goodnight Sword seems like the perfect thing. There got to be geeks around the Geekverse who want their children to be reading Goodnight Sword. So anyway, I was thinking that do the Kickstarter to do that print run, and then probably do like a limited number, because I've got some of these that I've got to send out. I'm going to do a couple of more because I want to send Adam a free one since he's the illustrator. I also want to send one to Brianna because she's the layout. She did a lot of work with this. And she also read and animated a lot of the audiobook that is on YouTube. So she needs one. But then I want to have a few around here to use as gifts, but then also perhaps on the Kickstarter, do a limited number of signed books where you get like a individually numbered book that's also that I can also autograph for you, and then do that in a limited number and then ship those from here. Because I wanted this to be done and know that it was confirmed. I'd like to do that for all. If we're doing more Kickstarters, I'd like to be able to do that for all of them, because I don't want the Kickstarter to hang on and on and on and on. I want to be able to turn around. I know that, hey, here's the book. It is ready. It is good to go. So that as soon as the Kickstarter ends, there's a 2-week processing time and stuff like that. But, I'm used to Kickstarters lasting for 12, 18 months or longer because of all the stuff. But, basically say, hey, this book is ready. We're doing this book. If you want it, we'll do a Kickstarter, and then we will clear it and close out the Kickstarter. And I think that would be a great way to do things. Let's see. Sable Phoenix says, this makes me grin. Sweet. Oh, I'm glad. Waiting on 2 action figure fulfillments. Andrew says, waiting on 2 action figure Kickstarter fulfillments currently, but they are going nostalgia format and scale. Also looking forward to that Nancy Drew action figure Kickstarter. Nostalgia stuff is more my wheelhouse, so I end up getting notices about those. Oh, I didn't know there was a Nancy Drew action figure Kickstarter. One of the reasons that I want to do action figures is, of course, I was highly inspired by action figures as a kid, but also they are more difficult to do. A lot of people, I've done projects in the past that, I was one of the first ones to do them and kind of start something off, but then a lot of people start doing them, things like that. But action figures are not easy. So that's an advantage to action figures. The disadvantage, of course, is they are not easy, and they are hella expensive to set up for the molding costs and all of the prototyping and all of that. I mean, they are not an easy thing. But that also means that because they're not easy, not as many people will be doing them. So if I can get the action figures rolling, that would be great. Nostalgia also has the benefit of less articulation and smaller scale means less plastic. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It would be a lot easier to do the to do the action figures if they were less articulate or if or non-articulate. Some people just do like the statue kinds of like things. So that would be one thing to do as well. But if I'm going to do it, like I'm only doing these things once. my approach is I'm only doing these things once. They got to be the best that they can possibly be. For me, for my project. All right, so that is Goodnight Sword. So I'm now adding to the list of things to do to revise the Kickstarter page to get Goodnight Sword up. And then I was trying to think about how what kind of schedule it would be. And it would be great if these smaller kinds of Kickstarters were on like a 10-week schedule. Because I was thinking, if there's 2 weeks of like promotion that the Kickstarter is coming, then the Kickstarter could run for 2 weeks. Do them shorter. I mean, you could run it for a lot longer. But I'm a big fan of not really having a middle to a Kickstarter. The middle of the Kickstarter kind of sucks. I know. I've been through enough of them. So if you just have a beginning and an end to the Kickstarter, that would be much better. So maybe for something, especially for something like a single book or something like that, 2 weeks is probably good. Have the opening week and then the closing week. And then it would take about 2 weeks. It takes 2 weeks for Kickstarter to process that and then deposit the money, right? In which case, during that time, I can be doing other things, but I want the book to be done. My rule used to be that Kickstarter projects have to be 95% done. Have them 95% done before you open the Kickstarter. Because I hate work, because I want to be able to move the project along as fast as possible after the Kickstarter. Sometimes that's not possible. If you're doing stretch goals and things like that you don't know that you have, suddenly there can be a lot of work on the back end of the Kickstarter, which slows down the fulfillment. But in this case, that book is 100% done. And it's better when they're 100% done, because as soon as the Kickstarter closes, then I also don't want to go through a pledge manager, because of course the way Kickstarter sets it up is ridiculous, because you cannot know how many items you need of your different SKUs when the Kickstarter closes, which is dumb. It shouldn't be built like that. GameFound and Indiegogo are built much better for that kind of thing, because they allow you to build it from the SKU. So when somebody pledges, you know exactly what they want and you know what to order. But if you build the Kickstarter page simply enough, then that shouldn't be an issue. Because in the past, like I've had to go through massive pledge manager systems, which is so ridiculous, but you've got to do that. And that takes forever to set up. And I mean, setting up a whole nother system. And I want to be able to skip that. So simplicity, then that would be 2 weeks until deposit. So that would be, say, 2 weeks of promotion, 2 weeks of Kickstarter, 2 weeks to deposit. Then 2 weeks of manufacturing and then fulfillment. So that'd be 5 2-week periods, basically. So that would be like a 10-week Kickstarter cycle. That still means 10 weeks from announcement to close, but still 10 weeks is a lot better than, 2 years. So that's what I'm thinking now. That's the way that I'm kind of thinking, trying to reorient my projects. And then we just build. Let's see. All right. So what do we want to do next? How much do we got here? Let's go over here while I got the auxiliary camera up, and let's take a look at this. So these, I like cards. And these are the Pathfinder Adventure Gear deck. Contains 110 cards. We looked at the Pathfinder condition cards. But this is cards for gear. So it says, gear up. Whether you're a player setting off on an epic adventure or a GM deciding what goods are sold at the local sundry shop, you need to know what you have handy. The Pathfinder Adventure Gear deck contains cards for every piece of adventuring gear in the Pathfinder core rulebook, plus key alchemical and magical items, complete with statistics and descriptions. The 110 card deck also includes the rules you need to manage your gear. With the Adventure Gear deck, you will always be prepared. See, I'm a big fan of also slot-based inventory systems, dealing with slots for inventory and encumbrance. So I think it would be great, since you're not trying to write down absolutely every little thing that your character has got, from an embroidered handkerchief you picked up someplace to some kind of buttons that ended up not being important. That if it's important, maybe you should have a card for it. And then if the card tells you how many slots it takes up, then there. I mean, if it's important, it's a card in your hand, and all its important statistics are there. So let's check these out. Let's just start with this one. Does anybody have this deck? Hopefully it is as good. Sometimes I'm disappointed with cards, but hopefully this is as good as, because I'm a big fan of cards, so I go and buy them. But some of the ones that I bought have not been all that impressive to me. Okay, so what do we got here? So on this side, we've got the illustrations. And it's just an illustration. That probably means, so on this side, well, you've got stats. Well, okay, so the first thing I notice, that is a lot of empty space. So this, like the mug here, like what are we supposed to do? That's like, and plus now with the mug on the back, that means that you don't get to look at it while you've got the information about the mug up. You don't have the picture. See, I would be inclined to want to put the picture on the same side. Although mug, I'm not really sure if that's something that you need a stat card for anyway. Let's see what it gives you. Like Adventurer's Pack. What is this on this side? See, that might, okay, that's its bulk. Okay, I'm assuming that's its bulk rating. So, for instance, it says Adventurer's Pack. This item is the starter kit for an adventurer containing the essential items for exploration and survival. The bulk value is for the entire pack together, but see the descriptions of individual items as necessary. The pack contains the following items: a backpack, a bedroll, 10 pieces of chalk, flint and steel, 50 feet of rope, 2 weeks of rations, soap, 5 torches, and a water skin. And that is bulk 1. Hands in a price 15 silver pieces. But that's a bulk 1 item. So Pathfinder uses bulk to manage that. So I guess that's sort of like slots, right? I don't remember exactly how that worked, but I assume that's kind of like slots. You've got a certain amount of bulk that you can handle. In fact, let me look that up. Let's look at Pathfinder's bulk rules. So, okay, so according to the archives of Nethys, bulk. Carrying especially heavy or unwieldy items can make it more difficult for you to move, as can overloading yourself with too much gear. The bulk value of an item reflects how difficult the item is to handle, representing its size, weight, and general awkwardness. If you have a high strength score, you usually don't have to worry about bulk unless you're carrying numerous substantial items. So, okay, so bulk limit is you can carry an amount of bulk equal to 5 plus your strength modifier without penalty. Okay, so we can think about that as we're looking at these cards. You can carry an amount equal to bulk plus amount of bulk equal to 5 plus your strength modifier without penalty. So the modifiers were pretty standard. So you could have like 8 bulk. If you're a fighter, you might be able to carry like 8. What 9 would be max or something like that. If you carry more, you gain the encumbered condition. We did have cards for the encumbered condition. You can't hold or carry more bulk than 10 plus your strength modifier. So your max is 10 plus strength modifier. If you're over 5 plus strength modifier, you gain the encumbered condition. Items can have a number to indicate their bulk value, or they can be light, indicated by L, or negligible, indicated by a dash, for the purposes of determining bulk. For instance, full plate armor is full. Okay, so this is also some benchmarks. For example, full plate armor is 4 bulk. A longsword is 1 bulk. A scroll or dagger is light, and a piece of chalk is negligible. 10 light items count as 1 bulk, and you round fractions down. So 9 light items count as 0 bulk, and 11 light items count as 1 bulk. Items of negligible bulk don't count toward bulk unless you try to carry vast numbers of them as determined by the GM. As a general rule, an item that weighs 5 to 10 pounds is 1 bulk. An item weighing less than a few ounces is negligible, and anything in between is light. But particularly awkward or unwieldy items might have higher bulk values. For example, a 10-foot pole, the classic 10-foot pole, isn't heavy, but its length makes it difficult for you to move while you have one on your person, so bulk is 1. Items made for larger or smaller creatures can have greater or less bulk as described in items and sizes. Okay, so that's how we're using bulk here. Zero Theory says, we use the critical fumble deck in Pathfinder 1E, and that's about the only cards I found useful unless it's game necessary. So yeah, as Sable Phoenix says, bulk is an abstract combination of weight and volume. So if you've only got 5 plus strength modifier, a 1 bulk, I'd want that to be written larger, though. That's a rather tiny 1 on this side. Like that, to me, that's an important, and even on the back here, to me, that's an important part of what this is. But nonetheless, okay, so if you only get 8, like get between 5 and 9 bulk, 1 bulk is your adventurer's pack. But that does contain flint and steel, 50 feet of rope, 2 weeks worth of rations. So that's pretty good. And also 5 torches. That was in Knave, right? We were talking about how many slots torches took up. It was a lot. And also weeks worth of rations. So to get all that for 1 bulk, that sounds pretty good. What is that thing? A snare kit? No, wait, look, that says 55 right there. So that's not bulk. I've got 55 written there. Is that cost? No, it's not cost. Because this says the snare kit is bulk 2. I was like, oh my God, what is bulk 55? I'm going to bring my camera down a little bit. I was like, what could possibly be bulk 55? Oh, a trap. Yeah, like a snare kit. Yeah, trap for a game. Right, yeah. This kit contains tools necessary for creating snares. The snare kit allows you to craft snares using the crafting kit skill. A specialist snare kit gives you +1 item bonus to the check. You can draw and replace a worn snare kit as part of the actions to use. So the snare kit says 5 GP. A specialist snare kit, level 3, is 55 GP. So 55 is on here, but that doesn't make sense over here. Adventurer's Pack is 15 SP, and it's got a 1 on it. Wait, so where is our rules? It said it came with rules. I don't know what I'm looking at. Bulk 2, hands 2. Small game hunting trap. Yeah, Zero Theory says. So, okay, hold on. Let me open this one. See what it says. Let me open this one. Now, is the 55? It could just be a card number. Because here's 54, 53, 52. Yeah, I guess that is what it is. I guess it's just a card number. Oh, that's what Daniel was saying. Daniel was saying, is the 55 just a card number? I guess that is what it is. But see, here's my other problem. Okay, so I guess I'm not as happy with this deck already as I would like to be. Yeah, Zero the Blade came to the same kind of conclusion. Maybe it is. And it was just happenstance that the first one was bulk 1. But, okay, I bought this deck of 110 cards. And the way that I would want to use them, like I said, is handing them out. So how many adventurer's pack cards do I need? Well, I need 1 for every character, right? So I only have 1, because that's another thing that I was going to say, like long sword, short sword, different types of armor. You need multiple. I can't get this deck open. You need multiple cards because you got multiple PCs. So having multiples of certain cards doesn't bother me. In fact, I'd want it. Okay, so let's see this right here. Well, God. So this is the card-based open game license. So that's not our rules. Well, here we got some cards with P's. Okay, we got. All right, let's see what this is. spell casting services, beverages and meals, lodging. Move up here. Transportation, coins. Okay, well, no, okay, so here it does tell us what bulk is. The bulk value of an item represents how difficult it is to handle, representing its size, weight, and general awkwardness. You can carry amount of bulk equal to 5 plus your strength modifier without penalty. If you carry more, you gain the encumbered condition. You can't hold or carry more bulk than 10 plus your strength modifier. Encumbered. I was like, okay, so what is the encumbered stuff? I was like, where's my conditions deck? Now, but okay, it does tell you right here. If you are carrying more weight that you can encumbered, you are carrying more weight than you can manage. While you're encumbered, you're clumsy 1 and take negative 10-foot penalty to all your speeds. As with all penalties to your speed, this can't be reduced. This can't reduce your speed below 5 feet. Changing equipment. The following table lists the actions required to perform common changes to how you hold and handle your equipment. Change. Draw out or put away a worn item or pick up an item. 1 or 2 hands. Action. Interact. Pass an item or take an item from a willing creature. Hands 1 or 2. Interact. Action is interact. Drop an item to the ground. 1 or 2. Action. Release. 1 or 2 hands. Action. Release. Detach a shield or item strapped to you. Requires 1 hand and an interact action. Change your grip by removing a hand from an item. Change your grip by removing a hand from an item. Requires 2 hands and release. Change your grip by adding a hand to an item. Requires 2 hands and an interact. Retrieve an item from a backpack. Requires 2 hands and an interact. So we also have some footnotes here. So 1, draw an item. Draw or put away a worn item or pick up an item. If you retrieve a 2-handed item with only 1 hand, you still need to change your grip before you can wield it. 2, a creature. So 2 involves passing an item. A creature must have a hand free or someone to pass an item to them, and they might then need to change their grip to receive an item requiring 2 hands to wield or use. 3 is about retrieving an item from a backpack. Retrieve an item stowed in your own backpack requires first taking off the backpack using a separate interact action. 030 says, just spitballing the idea. Maybe you could just hand a blank index card to a player for an item, and then you could draw it themselves to give it unique flair. Well, you could do that. I've seen some encumbrance systems like that where you have your grid and then you draw your item on the grid. That makes it difficult to rearrange and you have to erase. So I think that's why I like the systems that come with some type of token better. That way you can just put it on there. Changing equipment. Okay, we just looked at item damage. An item can be broken or destroyed if it takes enough damage. Each time an item takes damage, reduce any damage the item takes by its hardness. The rest of the damage reduces the item's hit points. A creature that attacks you doesn't normally damage your armor or other gear, even if it hits you, but some monsters have exceptional abilities that can damage your items. An item becomes broken when its hit points are equal to or lower than its broken threshold, BT. Once its hit points are reduced to 0, it is destroyed. A broken item has the broken condition until repaired above its broken threshold. Anything that automatically makes an item broken immediately reduces its hit points to broken threshold if the item had more hit points than that when the effect occurred. If an item has no broken threshold, then it has no relevant changes to its function due to being broken, but it's still destroyed at 0 hit points. An item can't be repaired. A destroyed item can't be repaired. An item's hardness, hit points, and broken threshold is usually dependent on the material the item is made of. The information appears on page 577 of the core rulebook. Pathfinder card. Here is the broken condition. A broken condition is a condition that affects objects. An object is broken. Well, basically, it's just said that. A broken item can't be used for its normal function, nor does it grant bonuses with the exception of armor. Broken armor still grants its item bonus to AC, but it also imparts a status penalty to AC depending on its category. -1 for broken light armor, -2 for broken medium armor, or -3 for broken heavy armor. A broken item still imposes penalties and limitations normally incurred for carrying, holding, or wearing it. For example, broken armor would still impose its dexterity modifier cap, check penalty, and so forth. If an effect makes an item broken automatically and the item has more HP than its broken threshold, reduce the HP. We got a card on repair action. If an item becomes broken, you can repair it. Repair, exploration, and manipulate tags. Requirements: you have a repair kit. You spend 10 minutes attempting to fix a damaged item, placing an item on a stable surface and using the repair kit with both hands. The GM sets the DC, but it's usually about the same DC to repair a given item as it is to craft it in the first place. You can't repair a destroyed item. A critical success, you restore 10 hit points to the item, plus an additional 10 hit points per proficiency rank you have in crafting. A total of 20 HP if you're trained, 30 HP if you're an expert, 40 HP if you're a master, or 50 HP if you're legendary. Success, you restore 5 HP to the item, plus an additional 5 per proficiency rank you have in crafting. Okay, critical failure, you deal 2d6 damage to the item. Apply the item's hardness to this damage. Okay. A character carries items in 3 ways: held, worn, and stowed. Held items are carried on your hands. A character typically has 2 hands, allowing them to hold an item in each hand, and a single 2-handed item using both hands. Or a single 2-handed item using both hands. Worn items are tucked into pockets, belt pouches, bandoliers, weapon sheaths, and so forth. They can be retrieved and returned relatively quickly. Stowed items are carried in a backpack or the like and are more difficult to access. Drawing a worn item or changing how you're carrying an item usually requires you to use an interact action. Though to drop an item, you may use the release free action instead. Many ways of using items require you to spend multiple actions. For example, drinking a potion worn at your belt requires using an interact action to draw it and then using a second action to drink it. You can make a set of tools, such as alchemist tools or healer's tools, easier to use by wearing it. This allows you to draw and replace the tools as part of an action that uses them. You can wear up to 2 bulk of tools in this manner. Tools beyond this limit must be stowed or drawn with an interact action to use. I like that. And we saw something like that in Mouse Guard as well. So I think that if you're using a basic slot-based inventory system like this, having, what is in your hands, what is worn, and then what is otherwise stowed and unable to get to are important distinctions. And that seems to make sense. Oh, David says, I like the cards for the rules. For the actual items, not so much. Especially since new items are coming out all the time, which do not have cards. Zero Theory says, but then what point would have you gotten the deck in the first place? You could do that now and save the money I would have spent on the deck. See, I actually think that, well, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about I want the rules for something on the card. So I guess that's interesting to have these rules reference cards. I'm not sure how I would use these during the game. Like, is it going to be easier to find the card on, well, see, that's services, spellcasting services. Why is this? I feel like this could focus better. There we go. Beverages and meals. But, okay, beverages and meals, spellcasting services. Okay, I mean, that's, okay, fine. That's services, and this is the item deck, so I guess. But is it going to be easier for me to find the rules on item damage in the book? Or is it going to be easier for me to find the item damage card? I'm not sure. Stargate Mind says, in Minds of Fan, I let the players pick a random card to identify the magic item they found. Players loved it. Oh. Well, see, that's also... So I guess I'm not terribly happy with this deck, because if I've got them sitting right here, on my play surface, then I want to see the art. Like, that seems rather bland to have that. And then on the back is the image. So yeah, you can't use it for like a random draw or something. So David says that for him, I find it quicker to shuffle through cards than scan through the book. I guess my point was the book has an index. My cards could be in any order if I'm looking for the right rule. Stargate Mind says they defeated the BBEG with a necklace of fireballs they drew, not that I assigned. So what does it come with then? We don't need to look at every one of these. Saddlebag, signal whistle. So Alchemist's Lab. So that's a bulk 6. And that is rather tiny. Like I would have had on these cards the picture up at the top, more like, like a Magic kind of card layout, a picture of what this is, and then symbols for like how many hands it is, how many, what bulk it is. If you want to put price on it, put the price on it. Cards like Zombicide item cards, that have all the different stats with symbols and stuff like that. So I think that's how I would have used this, and bulk would be a really important part of it, or how many slots it takes up. There's Alchemist Tools, so that's a bulk 1. Artisan's Tools, and then I also would have had multiple copies so that of common items, so that all the adventurers can have one. Hey, Vision. Good to see you. Good morning, Vision. James says, if I'm letting my players draw randomly for magic items, I'm assembling a 50-card deck that's just a bag full of weasels. It's just bags of weasels. I wonder if that's in here. Backpack. See, I mean, like one backpack? Basic Crafter's Book, Bedroll, Elite Disguise Kit, Caltrops. Well, okay, so they did give you 2 Caltrops. Are they different? Because I got different card numbers on it. I got cards 10 and 11. But otherwise, they look the same. Candle, chain, chalk, chest, climbing kit, ordinary clothing. See, again, just one. Like, so it's like supposed to be like a reference or something. But I want to be able to give these to the players. Like the conditions cards came with different ones, like multiples of the cards, which that makes sense. Like, to me, it would have been lame if you get one condition card. Oh, it's just for reference. No, if a player's got the condition, I want to hand them the card so they know this is important. And here are the rules: cookware, crowbar, fishing tackle, flint and steel, formula book, grappling hook, hammer, healer's tools, holly and mistletoe. Plants of supernatural significance provide a primal focus for primal spellcasters, such as druids, when using certain abilities and casting some spells. A bunch of holly and mistletoe must be held in one hand to use it. Other primal foci exist for druids focused on other aspects of nature. Hourglass, ladder, bullseye lantern, lock, magnifying glass, manacles, material component pouch, merchant scale, mirror, mug, musical instrument handheld, musical instrument heavy, oil, python, rations, usually a mix of dried fruits, veggies, and meats. These portable and easily kept foodstuffs are a convenient meal solution for travelers when access to fresh cooked meals is out of the question. There's a repair kit for items. Rope, sack. See, and I also want, I thought a good idea would be envelopes that look like different containers. You could make envelopes that are the size of the cards, but then make the envelope look like a backpack or look like a treasure chest or something like that. And that way, if it's a treasure chest, the GM could load the thing up beforehand, the envelope up beforehand, and then when you open the treasure chest, hand over that envelope full of cards. And likewise, if you've got a backpack envelope, then you could just put your cards that are in your backpack in that envelope. What is that? Barding heavy. Soap, spellbook, spyglass, tack, 10-foot pole, pup tent, 4-person tent, tent pavilion, thieves tools, infiltrator tools, long tool, short tool. Okay, what are the, all right, here are the long tools. Here's the short tools. Torch, see, just one torch. A torch sheds a bright light in this 20-foot radius, but just one card, water skin, writing set, scholarly journal, surveyor's map, antidote, lesser, item 1. Antidote. Okay, well now here's, so that we get 2 of those, right? Okay, they're different. No, they're different item. They're different card numbers though. Antidote, lesser, anti-plague, lesser, elixir of life, minor, elixir of life. So it gives you 3 of those. Smoke stick, lesser, sun rod, tender twig. Match. Holy water, unholy water, healing potion, minor. So it does give you 3 healing potions. What do those look like? Called classic red healing potions. I still want that on the front though. Scroll, first level, potency crystal, guard dog, riding horse, war horse, riding pony, war pony, barding light, barding heavy. So I don't know. Yeah, David says, have to say I usually defend Paizo products, but these just aren't very good. You know, I feel like a lot of times the cards, because I really, as I say all the time, I like cards. I want to be able to use more cards. And then I see somebody's produced cards for a game like, oh, okay, well, cool. I've got to check these out. Maybe they're going to be able to do what I want to do. And I'm frequently underwhelmed by the cards in a major way. I'm frequently this just seems to be a consistent thing across a bunch of different publishers with a bunch of different games that are being produced by cards. They're producing cards. I feel like they're an afterthought. I feel like they could be a really good and important game accessory. Now I realize, like we're having a discussion here, not everybody would want to use them, but I feel like they could be a really important accessory, but for at least the people who want to use them the way that I would want to use them, but that they're always assembled like kind of an afterthought and not taken very seriously. So yeah, I'm underwhelmed by that. James says, I don't know. I like the cards. I've been known to like bad stuff though. I can own that. Altoids 10s would work well as chests and backpack. Yeah, you could definitely now, you know, and some of the, you can get larger size Altoids 10s. That's an interesting thing to do because then you could put a character in an Altoids 10 and then put it in your backpack, or in your pocket, or put it in a backpack or something like that, and you wouldn't worry about all the cards getting torn up or, you know, bent or something like that. That'd be something that would protect them. And then also an Altoids 10 could carry like other little tokens, because I like the physicality. And like I said, that I have a theory that like there's got to be some number of optimal things that you're supposed to track during a game. And those things can change from like session to session, or even part of a session to part of a session, depending on what exactly it is that you're doing. But if you're supposed to be tracking some type of resource, then doing it with cards or doing it with meeple-like tokens seems like a thing to do. And you could put meeple-like tokens inside a Altoids 10 as well. Daniel says, I don't think this is a GM item, but more of a player thing to help organize. Yeah, well, maybe it is supposed to be something that's bought by a single player, since you basically have, if a single player wants to keep their equipment organized by cards, maybe that's it. Because I was definitely thinking of it as like a GM kind of thing for, yeah, the whole table. James says Dragonlance 5th edition has cards. It replaces all dice rolling with card shuffling and selection. Hey, Nightmare. Good morning, Nightmare. Good to see you here on the Morning Grind. Nightmare says, hello, all. I have to completely agree. I like cards or handouts, but they seem like an afterthought in most systems. So if I do cards, I wanted them to be done really well. Let's see. I've got some other cards. So I tell you what, let's not do the guns blazing today. Let's do guns blazing, I guess, tomorrow. I would take a look at the starter set. So we've got the quick start rules. If you didn't watch last night's table talk, it was really good with Bashir. But let me look at some other cards over here. I've got decks of cards over here. We'll look at them for a few more minutes. These are okay. That's I had like critical hit decks. Oh, okay. Well, no, okay. So we did the Pathfinder critical hit deck and the Pathfinder condition cards. Let's see. But I had some other critical hit and treasure cards that I got at Gen Con. I don't really know where they are. I probably put them away someplace because I didn't think they were all that great. But I think we were okay with the critical hit deck. We looked at that before. I think we thought those were pretty reasonable. It seemed to do what they were. It seemed to do what we were supposed to do, at least reasonably. So I think we thought those were okay. The Pathfinder critical hit deck. The condition cards. I still think. Okay, what to me, what this still doesn't do, because I like conditions a lot. And because I like cards, I want to be able to hand the player the card that says broken ribs. So what this is supposed to do, okay, so whenever you roll or potentially get the critical hit, what you turn over a card, and then we do have different types of damage here, which I like. Okay. There might be another setting on this camera that I need to be using because I'm moving around things in and out of focus. It's supposed to be able to adjust to moving focus. I think I just had it on the wrong setting. Maybe we'll see. So you turn this over and then you get broken ribs, spinal tap, and the spinal tap, nerve slice, forceful blast, depending on whether it was a bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, bomb, or spell that happened, right? So that reduces the number of cards because otherwise you would have to have items, have different decks for different types of damage, which I would want to have. But if you get broken ribs, I want to be able to hand the character the card that has the condition on it that says, okay, you have broken ribs and what that's going to mean for the game here. And so you can't hand this to the player. So that's my problem with this. I suppose this does let you generate random critical hits, but it still doesn't let me hand you you now have the broken ribs, that effect, like in Fate, a consequence. Because I think about Fate a lot, and I want to be able to have a card that's like, oh, and I would sort that by damage, right? By damage type or something like that. I want to be able to go, because we've talked about very often about how it can be difficult to come up with great narrative conditions and stuff on the fly. So I would want to spend the time. Okay, I tell you what, out of game, I'm going to come up with some great conditions for injuries, but it could be other things, for consequences in a Fate-like game, although there's a lot of games in that genre we've been looking at, because I want that injury to have some type of consequence. And I want to be able to hand them that card so they know exactly what it does and that they've got it. So you can't do that here. So I think if all you're trying to do is generate a critical hit, then great, but you can't hand them the card because it's got all these different things on it. They'd have to remember what it was. And most of these things Well, this one does say broken ribs, normal damage, crit effect. The target is slowed until healed. Overwhelming mash is triple damage. Concussion, normal damage. The target is confused. And see, okay, so confused and stupefied. I'm assuming those are also conditions, and I'd want that to indicate that that's confused is actually a thing. It's got rules. Stupefied is actually a thing. It's got rules. So, okay, but still not exactly what I'm trying to do. I think the condition deck was closer because you're supposed to be able to hand these things out. So this one is better because like there are 2 undetected. Okay, there are 4 hidden. So if you're hidden, then you can hand the player hidden, and then that way they know exactly what it is. It's okay. So these are front and back. There's the same thing on the back, and I suppose what you're trying to identify the cards by color here. So that at least works there. I'm still underwhelmed by these cards' artistic stuff. Like, I feel like in this case, actually in all these cases, they're almost too utilitarian. Now, of course, I'm big on the feel of games, and so and that was one of the minor complaints that I have with generic systems is when you've got generic systems, you don't have stuff on the table that facilitates the look and feel of the game you're trying to generate. Like if you're trying to play Lord of the Rings, I like having the Lord of the Rings books on the table and Lord of the Rings themed stuff out there rather than having to look through GURPS. It's a minor complaint rather than having the generic systems on there. It's a minor complaint, but it is one. And if I'm going to all the trouble to make these cards, especially since these are Pathfinder fantasy cards, I think I definitely would have made these cards that the players are supposed to have up in front of them. I think I would have had them be more artistic and try to facilitate the feel of the table. And they're very utilitarian, which again kind of gives them the kind of afterthought kind of feel. Let's see. Zero Theory says spell cards can be nice, but mostly they are the most common spells. If a character gets a unique or rarely used spell, it's the one they want to have a card for. Yeah, that's true. I did see, going back to even AD&D, there was the big box of spell cards, and I had that at some point. I had that because I was like, oh, all right, the spell cards. I thought they were going to be cards like this, but they ended up being like index card size. And again, it was still kind of underwhelming, but at least it did come with a whole bunch of them. Vision says more profit selling them to individual players rather than to the table. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Zero Theory says, I like the critical hit deck. Vision says, I would have preferred them making these cards for the table. At the same time, I understand why they're selling them as individual player packs. Let's see. This one goes in here. Mixed feelings all around. Yeah, I agree. Zero Theory says it can give you a narrative path in combat that can sometimes be too mechanical, if that makes sense. Retro Nerd Girl says that's a great way to do it by handing out conditions. That's the way that I want to do it. David Sims, problem with giving them a particular feel for a game like Pathfinder is that there's a large enough game that different tables play with completely different feels. So you want to market to the majority. But Pathfinder already has a feel, right? I mean, people had already talked about, see, what I'm saying is that a lot of people are like very big on the the Pathfinder art style and stuff like that. So if you're playing Pathfinder, you've already got your Pathfinder books on the table, and Pathfinder has gone to a lot of Paizo has gone to a lot of trouble to come up with an artistic style that is consistent across all of their books. And now some people don't like the artistic style, and that's fine. But other people there's been mixed feelings on this show and this channel, and that's fine. But a lot of people have really liked the particular Pathfinder style of art. And whether or not you like it or you don't like it, that's definitely a feel that you got at the table when you were playing Pathfinder, its particular style of art. And then when you open up your condition card or the item cards, when I've got the item cards and it's that, I mean, I think they could have done a lot more to make this seem like the Pathfinder feel. Like that still kind of even doesn't. I mean, to me, that it's the same background with something just stuck on it. To me, that feels low effort. I know. Cards are difficult because there's so many of them. You've got to have so many of them. But that seems low effort, and that artistic side isn't even going to be on. I don't even know if that fits the Pathfinder style all that well anyway. That one does more. But that's not what's going to be sitting there on the table anyway. What's going to be sitting on the table is that. And that's kind of lame. I think. I had some cards from another company because I tried again at Gen Con. Somebody had critical hit cards and treasure cards. Let me look on. I've had to start moving some of my things to an auxiliary shelf in my bedroom, or actually in my bedroom closet. I'm going to look in there and just see, because I thought about doing those on the morning grind, but then I was like, I don't know if they're worth it. But let me just look in there and see if they're sitting in there, just since we're on a card, since we're talking about cards right here. Neutromancer says, I like the idea of Pathfinder 2. I'm sure after I play it, I'll find it has too many rules. A lame horse. Yes, it's a lame horse. Just 1 second. Oh, look, I went right to him. Okay, so I have some more cards on the auxiliary shelf on the bedroom. So first of all, I do have these. Did anybody get these? At Mars Cardography. This has just turned into a card episode, which is fine. So, random monster deck. These were done by Brian Colin, and he's a friend of mine. And, I had the idea that can't we generate a dungeon or something like that through cards? David says, yeah, I was just talking about the condition cards, which do have, to me, consistency with the books, especially the icons. The gear, yeah, not so much. Yeah. The condition cards are better. I still think they could be improved, but yeah. Because I wanted to be like, can't you be able to tell some kind of story with cards? Be able to lay out your adventure. I actually haven't even opened these yet. Each deck gives you at Mars Cardography random monster deck. Each deck gives you access to a downloadable full PDF for both D&D, 5e, and Fate. Random monsters from the unique world of Revelo. In this box, 52 monster cards that can be used as props, random generators, and inspiration. I hadn't even opened that. What is this one right here? Magical items and artifacts. Each deck gives you access to a downloadable full PDF of both 5e and Fate. Let's see what's inside those. This right here. So this right here, though, at Mars Cardography, break through the icy divide. So Brian was trying to do that. But I like when I was thinking about doing an adventure with cards, I was thinking more narrative stuff. So when he had the idea, I was like, oh, well, maybe he's going to do it. So we do have the back cardography here. But then you randomly generate like some type of dungeon. And I'm not sure that this isn't exactly what I was talking about. Because a lot of people, like, they're using miniatures or something anyway. That's too small. And because I wasn't thinking that you would actually lay them out on the table. That, you've got an idea for a room or something like that. So I don't know. So that's what the cardography adventures are. But let's see how he did magic items and artifacts. Let's see if he's got a good layout. I can't believe I've never opened them. But see, then okay, the other ones that I had were these right here. Game Master's Toolbox, Treasure Deck, CRs 1 to 4, and then Game Master's Toolbox, Critical Hit Deck for players. Okay, Nord Games. That's who made these. Nord Games. Okay, let's see. Zero of the Blade says, definitely feels like the gear pack is for player assistance while the crit and status deck are GM options. It does kind of feel like that now. All right, let's see. Magic items and artifacts. And this is for his, okay, so it's the cardography back. Let me try to open this. Now, if I do cards, now that I've talked so much crap about them, they're going to have to be really good. So what did Brian do? Well, this was in collaboration with him and Norse Foundry. Online content. Full stat blocks for these magical items and artifacts can be found at cant.rip/magic. Okay. Well, he does have the art on them, so I would say this is better as far as the feel goes, but this still is not what I want because now I have to go online someplace to find out what these things are. So why is the cards difficult to get right? Now I need this definitely has the look, the Bone Mask, Bag of Shards, Sonic Disruption Crystal, Hammer of Gunthor, Bone Chiller. I mean, okay, that's cool. Antifreeze Potion, Watchful Eye, the Ember Sword. All this sounds pretty cool. And they are nicely illustrated in the theme of Revelo. So that would enhance the table's look if you're playing in the world of Revelo. This is that kind of style and stuff like that. So that's a win there, except for what is not a win is that I don't know what any of these things are, and they can't actually help me. They don't help me reference using them at the table because I got to look them up online. Neutromancer says some sort of room element card might be nice. Draw 3 or something, and you get circular room, some bed, wardrobe mimic. Yeah, something like that. There's got to be some way, because I'm always talking about what's the least you can do as far as your prep goes and get people playing into a game. It seems like there should be some way to begin to generate a really cool way to generate an adventure using cards. Okay, so this is the random monster deck. Let me just look at that. Then we'll go over here and look at these from Nord Games. Need a knife. Here it is. There. Well, all right. See, it's the same situation. James says, there's a company called Deck of Many. I don't own many of their product, but plenty of people seem to like their cards. Maybe worth looking into? Maybe so. I don't know anything about them. So maybe they have hit it. So this look like the same kind of thing here. Cardography backs. So they've all got the same back. Now, see, what? Now, wait a minute. This, what did I just do with it? Oh, it's over here. So this right here is my magic items and artifact deck. But they all have, see, I want to be able to distinguish my decks of monsters from my decks of monsters from my decks of items and artifacts. And I can't do that. The maps, the monsters, and the magical items all have the same backs on them. But yeah, so again, art in the style of Revelo, but this tells me that learn more about the creatures in this deck in the World of Revelo book, which I've got sitting over there. One of the monsters in it is named after me, the Nosmanor. But full stat blocks for these monsters can be found online. I don't want to look online. I want to be able to look at my card. So, great look for styling and feel of Revelo. Is Nosmanor in here? But they're more like just imagery reference cards. Grinotor, Grenkin. I played in a Revelo game. We streamed it. It's probably someplace. I streamed it with Brian. Gray Scroll. Oh, there it is. Look, that's the monster in Revelo that's named after me. That is a Nosmanor. Obviously, Robinson backwards. So that was and there's a sculpture of it as well he did, because he does all the cool sculptures. So that is the Nosmanor. But, okay, so deck of many, maybe I look at that, because I want somebody to I want really good cards for games. I want really good cards. And yet, for some reason, or it seems like somebody says, oh, somebody wants cards. Hang on. They want these items on cards. Hang on. I can do that real fast. I can do that really cheap, and then people will buy them. But then they end up not being good. You could do them in a more general way, I think. I mean, there's a lot of common stuff that people use. Okay, so here's the critical hit from Nord Games. Now, I do like their layout here, except for it's very difficult to tell their symbols because they're all these red seals or something, and that's telling us what our type of damage is. So Paizo wins that one. Critical hit deck. Because it's much easier to determine with these symbols over here on the sides rather than these symbols over here. So it says critical hit deck for players. When a member of the party rolls a natural 20 on an attack roll against an enemy, draw a card from this deck. Each card has 4 entries for different damage types: slashing, piercing, bludgeoning, and magic, represented by these symbols. But those symbols are very difficult to tell apart from one another. And the cards are supposed to be easy reference. So those are very difficult symbols to tell. Each card has a severity level in the upper right corner: setback, dangerous, life-threatening, or deadly. We would recommend using only setback cards at level 1, introducing dangerous cards at level 5, life-threatening at level 9, and deadly at level 13. Of course, you can choose how to play with the cards from level 1. Just don't be surprised if the GM has to add a few extra. Of course, you can choose to play with all the cards from level 1. Just don't be surprised if the Game Master has to add a few extra monsters to compensate. So this is supposed to be used by the players. Game Master's Apprentice. This deck, there's some sort of DM assistant deck. Don't remember the name, but it has like plot hooks, objectives, and descriptions. I mean, wouldn't it be great if you could, I think it would be, if you could generate your characters with decks of cards, because I want to be able to generate the characters with cards too. And then the Game Master could also generate the adventure right there. So no prep. What do you think of a QR in the corner to quickly view stats on your phone? I mean, that would be a way that could be done, that you could, if you need additional information, if you need complete information, a QR code, I guess you could do that. But like you could have, but then you also have to make sure you're maintaining that that link. But you know, I played at groups where we just completely embrace technology, and I played at groups where there intentionally no technology at the table. So Daniel says, I guess those cards are like tokens. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that's coming. Yeah, just as the augmented reality. Daniel says, I would like to see cards that interact with an app, either have the character sheet or have a character sheet and scan the card to add to the sheet. Yeah, well, that could probably be done. Yeah, scan it and then it's added to a database or something like that. Neutromancer says, there's a Fate card game, It's Not My Fault, where you generate, kind of generic though. Yes, there is. Oh, that's not that box though. I thought I was going to reach right over and pull That's Not My Fault off the shelf, but these are actually some card sleeves that I was sleeving the Hero Quest treasure cards in. That way, my old Hero Quest and my new Hero Quest, I can insert the new Hero Quest treasure cards into my old Hero Quest deck. Ah! For a long, long time, It's Not My Fault set right over there. So it probably got moved back to the auxiliary shelf. But yeah, I've had fun playing that. I've had a great time with casual, especially kids, playing It's Not My Fault. So, and that works well. And that, I think that idea needs to be greatly expanded on. So you're right. It is kind of generic. And there weren't that many adventure generation cards. Excuse me. There weren't that many adventure generation cards. There were some, but I was like, this idea needs to be expanded on in a big way. So yes, It's Not My Fault. I might go back to the auxiliary desk and see if it's back there, auxiliary shelf. But yeah, that's one for that kind of inspiration. James Bacon says, the text on some of these cards is way too small and way too dense for me to ever want to try and read something like that. Yeah, it's supposed to be fast and quick. But so for instance, so we see, and there was a completely separate deck for the Game Master. But like, I can't tell what these symbols are. Slashing, I guess, piercing, bludgeoning, and magic. So setback is something like low slash, maximum damage. Pierced thigh, double damage. Something slipped, maximum damage, and the target's AC is reduced by 1d4 until the end of next turn. So I wasn't all that happy with these either. Neutromancer says there's actually already tech to see AR holograms using special QR that tracks perspective and everything. Oh, nice. On your phone. Yeah, eventually we're not going to have to look through our phone or our iPads or something like that. Then things will take off. But it wasn't, see, this is still not giving somebody some type of condition. Deadly, don't lose your head, quadruple damage, and the damage the target takes is equal to or greater than half of their maximum hit points. They are decapitated. Slashed shoulder, maximum double damage. Life-threatening forearm blow, quadruple damage. I don't know. So that's the kind of stuff. There was so much in here that's like maximum double damage, quadruple damage, maximum double damage, maximum double damage, maximum double damage. Like, okay, if I go to all the trouble to get a critical hit deck, I want some more descriptions. So even vexing cut. Okay, so vexing cut, quadruple damage, and the target must make a DC 16 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the target cannot take reactions for 3d4 rounds. That's still very mechanical, right? I mean, it's some more stuff to do, but if I was looking for a critical hit deck that gave me, neat narrative damage, and this was just a lot more mechanical damage stuff. So this wasn't what I was looking for either. So I I really wanted it to be something that I wanted. Something that I would really use. But that still was kind of a miss to me. Yeah, it was called Google Glass, but it didn't catch on. Not yet. Not yet. Yeah, Zero Theory says, woo, brutal. But yeah, I'd prefer it to be more narrative as well. My favorite fumble table had your sword gain sentience and begins singing. So like right here. So I was like, all right, somebody's doing cards. Treasure deck. CR 1 to 4. I was like, all right. Because, again, inspired by like Hero Quest, the treasure deck. I mean, that's got the image on it. It's got text on it that tells you what to do with it. That's a great deck. So I was like, okay, 5th edition treasure deck. I got this a long time ago. This was at Gen Con several years ago. It says, okay, instructions. So I was like, all right, treasure deck. All right, this is going to be great. Instructions. Reward your players with loot by drawing a card from the deck and rolling D12 to determine the treasure they find. And I was already like, what? Draw a card from the deck and then roll D12 to determine the treasure they find? No, I want to determine what treasure they find by drawing the card. Why are you putting a table on my card? Oh, wait, so your sword starts singing. Your sword gains sentience and starts singing. You tell it to shut up, and it breaks its heart, and it never says another word to you again. Oh. But it said, okay, so draw a card, roll a d12 to determine the treasure they find. It's up to the GM whether the players draw their own cards or the GM draws for them. Magical items are marked by italic text in parentheses, and players may require an appropriate check, such as Arcana, History, or Religion, to determine their nature at the GM's discretion. Depending on the situation or setting, draw one card or several. For example, looting a particularly tough goblin might yield one card, but finding a goblin's treasury might result in one card per player. To build a horde, keep drawing cards and rolling until the result is a 12. And so I was like, oh no. So here's the back. So, okay, I'll take this as a treasure deck, with the treasure. That's kind of reminiscent of Hero Quest and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I guess I'll take that. Okay, here's the treasure deck. But then I turn it over and they look like that. And I was like, that's my treasure deck? So so I turn my card over and I have this table here. Roll a d12. 1 to 6, 15 GP printed in the likeness of a pious martyr. What does that mean? 15 GP printed in the likeness of a pious martyr. 7 to 9, a lightweight black porcelain orb stoppered with cork, sealed with wax, and bearing the label reading flame. It's alchemist fire. Now, see, that would be better, I guess. But I was like, oh, no, this is another miss to me because I don't want to draw a card and then have to roll D12 because then what do I do with this card? Like, I want to give it, if you got treasure card, I want to give this to the player. Here you go. You just got a treasure. Draw from the treasure deck. Oh, look, here's your item. Not, okay, draw. Okay, now roll. Now write that down. Yeah, that's probably it. That's probably what it's supposed to be or something. Yeah, a 15 gold pieces collector coin with a famous martyr's face on it. So once again, I thought I was really excited because I thought I found somebody who was going to do treasure cards really nice. And then I, again, do not have nice treasure cards. And again, these kinds of things also, I don't want to give the players a bunch of stuff that really isn't going to matter. Like a pair of bone dice with flecks of gem for the pips, worth 7 gold pieces and 4 silver pieces. Okay, well now go write down pair of bone dice with flecks of gem for the pips, worth 7 GP and 4 GP. I'm trying to avoid having players write down random stuff like that. Or a single large coin worth 7 GP and 4 GP. But you got to write that down. I guess you could have players like circle it. I guess you just take out a marker or something and circle. Okay, that's the ones you rolled. So that's what you've got. But then you've got this ugly card sitting by you that doesn't have, any kind of cool art on it that doesn't have any kind of cool art on it, and that has some type of circled thing with a marker on it. So, okay, yes, I guess you can tell. I'm upset with our status of card decks for RPGs. So, oh well. Maybe AI art will help us out, because I realize, having made custom decks for board games, like War of Kings had a bunch of cards with art on the front, and getting reasonable quality art in the quantity necessary for decks of cards, I realize that isn't easy. So maybe now in the world of AI art, we're going to be able to get decks that have cards that have illustrations on them that actually add feel to the table and are doing what I think they should be doing. There is drive-through cards, and I did look at that. I was like, well, now wait a minute. If I want to do some cards and we want to do them as like Kickstarters or something like that, and do print on demand, you can do print on demand cards, so that's nice. And I've thought about that. So maybe it's something that one day can be done, because I'd like to have like Rabavania and Theophany cards and stuff. Hey, Jay. Zero the Blade says, too bad Gooey Cube doesn't sell their decks separately from their box sets. I have never heard of them. Gooey Cube box set. 5e Adventure GUI shop. I have never heard of that. So they sell like box set adventures or something like that? Huh. That's interesting. Might have to take a look at that. All right. Well, that was our thought for today. We'll take a look at what Bashir was doing with the guns blazing setting, and also particularly I want to see about his rules, what he's doing with reactions and things like that. So we will check out that, I guess, tomorrow. But that was a dive into Goodnight Sword and also cards. Cards are one of my favorite topics, so definitely worth doing. All right, everybody. So no stream tonight. I'm still working on getting the dinner and a board game up and ready. So maybe in another week we will see. So in the meantime, I'll see you tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. For more morning grind tomorrow. In the meantime, be creative, be productive, and grind on.